After 60, one rushed decision can quietly undo everything you spent a lifetime building. Your savings, your independence, your peace of mind. What feels urgent today may not matter next year, but the choice you make today can shape the rest of your life. By the time you reach 60, you've lived through enough to know that not everything that screams for attention actually deserves it. You've seen trends come and go. You've watched people panic over things that never mattered. You've learned, sometimes the hard way, that the loudest voice in the room isn't always the wisest. And yet, even with all that experience, there's still this quiet pressure that creeps in. This feeling that you need to act now, decide now, commit now. It's as if the world forgot that you've already spent a lifetime making decisions. And now, when you finally have the chance to slow down, everyone around you is still moving at full speed. Family members call with ideas about your house, your money, your future. Financial advisors present opportunities that expire by Friday. Friends share stories of people who waited too long and missed out. The message, spoken or unspoken, is always the same. Don't wait. But here's what nobody says out loud. Sometimes waiting is the smartest thing you can do. Sometimes the best decision is the one you don't make right away. Because after 60, what you built over a lifetime, your savings, your home, your independence, your sense of peace, deserves more than a hurried choice made under pressure. It deserves the protection of thoughtfulness. And that takes time. Society has always celebrated speed. We admire the quick thinker, the fast mover, the person who seizes the moment. But speed and wisdom don't always go hand in hand. In fact, they rarely do. Wisdom asks questions. Wisdom waits for clarity. Wisdom knows that urgency is often manufactured, designed to push you toward a decision before you've had the chance to fully understand what you're agreeing to. And when you're in your 60s or 70s, the stakes are different than they were at 30 or 40. You're no longer building from the ground up. You're protecting what you've already built, and protection requires patience, not haste. There's a reason why rushed decisions feel more dangerous now than they used to. It's not because you're less capable or less sharp. It's because your resources, your financial resources, your physical energy, your time itself are no longer renewable in the way they once were. At 30, if you made a financial mistake, you had decades to recover. You could work extra hours, take on a second job, rebuild your savings. At 65, that margin for error has narrowed. Your income is likely fixed. Your savings represent years, even decades, of discipline. And once that money is spent, moved, or lost, there's no easy way to replace it. This is why a rushed financial decision can be so devastating. It's not just about the money itself. It's about what that money represents. It represents your ability to live independently. It represents your freedom to make choices without relying on others. It represents the cushion that allows you to sleep at night, knowing that an unexpected expense won't upend everything. When someone pressures you to invest quickly, to lend a large sum, to make a major purchase without taking time to think, what they're really asking you to do is gamble with your security. And that's not a gamble worth taking. Consider the retiree who receives a call from a financial advisor about a limited-time investment opportunity. The language is urgent. The returns sound promising. The deadline is tight. It feels important, even exciting. But underneath that excitement is a simple truth. If the opportunity is real, it will still be real after you've had time to research it, Consult with someone you trust and think it through. And if it's not real, if it's designed to pressure you into acting before you've had time to think, then the urgency itself is a warning sign. Real opportunities don't vanish overnight. Real advisors don't push you to decide before you're ready. And real security comes from decisions made with clarity, not speed. The same principle applies to family dynamics. Adult children sometimes approach their aging parents with ideas that sound helpful on the surface, selling the house and moving closer, combining finances, making legal changes to estate plans. These conversations often come from a place of genuine concern. But concern doesn't always equal correctness, and just because someone you love believes something is urgent doesn't mean it actually is. Your home, your money, your legal documents, these are deeply personal decisions that will affect the rest of your life. They deserve more than a quick conversation over Sunday dinner. They deserve time, reflection, and honest evaluation of what you truly want, not just what others think is best. There's another reason why rushing major decisions after 60 can be so dangerous, and it's one that doesn't get talked about enough. Emotional clarity takes time, and when you're navigating the later years of life, emotions run deeper than most people realize. Grief, loneliness, uncertainty about the future. These aren't just feelings you can push aside. They shape how you see the world. They influence what feels safe and what feels risky. And when you're in the middle of an emotional storm, it's almost impossible to make decisions that truly serve your long-term well-being. Imagine a woman who has just lost her husband after 40 years of marriage. In the months that follow, well-meaning friends suggest she sell the house. It's too big, they say, too much upkeep, too many memories. On the surface, their advice might sound practical, but what they don't see is that the house isn't just a building. It's the place where she raised her children. It's the garden her husband planted. It's the front porch where they drank coffee every morning. Selling that house might make sense eventually, but deciding to sell it 3 months after his death, when grief is still fresh and overwhelming, is a decision made in emotional fog. And decisions made in fog rarely lead to peace. This doesn't mean you should never make big decisions after a loss. It means you owe it to yourself to wait until the fog begins to lift, to give yourself permission to sit with uncertainty rather than rushing toward resolution, to recognize that what feels unbearable today might feel manageable 6 months from now. Emotional clarity doesn't arrive on a schedule. It arrives when you've given yourself the space to process what you're feeling without the added pressure of making irreversible choices. The same is true for feelings of loneliness. Loneliness can make almost anything sound better than what you have now. A move to a new city, a major purchase, a relationship that develops too quickly. But loneliness is a powerful emotion, and it can cloud judgment in ways that aren't immediately obvious. It can make you more vulnerable to sales pitches, to flattery, to promises that sound too good to be true. It can make you agree to things you wouldn't normally agree to, simply because the person offering seems kind or attentive. And by the time you realize the decision wasn't right, the damage has already been done. This is why time is your greatest ally. Time allows emotions to settle. Time creates distance between the feeling and the decision. Time reveals whether what seemed urgent in the moment was truly important, or whether it was simply a reaction to something deeper, fear, sadness, uncertainty about what comes next. Giving yourself that time isn't a weakness, it's wisdom. It's recognizing that you deserve to make decisions from a place of clarity, not desperation. There's an uncomfortable truth that many retirees discover too late. Sometimes the people pushing you to make a fast decision are the ones who stand to benefit from your speed. This doesn't mean everyone around you has bad intentions. Most don't. But intention and outcome aren't always aligned. And when someone else's interest, financial, emotional, or practical, depends on your quick agreement, that's when you need to slow down the most. Salespeople are trained to create urgency. It's part of their job. Limited time offers, exclusive deals, today only pricing. These tactics work because they trigger a fear of missing out. But here's what they don't tell you. The deal that expires today will be replaced by another deal tomorrow. The urgency is manufactured. It's designed to prevent you from thinking too carefully, from comparing options, from asking questions that might reveal flaws in what's being offered. And for retirees who are often targeted by aggressive sales tactics, this manufactured urgency can lead to contracts signed, money spent, and regrets that linger for years. Then there are family dynamics, which can be even more complicated. Adult children who suggest their aging parents sell the family home and move closer aren't necessarily wrong. But their motivations are worth examining. Are they genuinely concerned about your well-being, or are they concerned about the burden of distance? Are they thinking about your happiness, or are they thinking about inheritance, about simplifying their own lives, about what feels easier for them? These aren't comfortable questions to ask, but they're necessary ones. Because once you've sold your home, once you've moved across the country, once you've made a major life change to accommodate someone else's vision of what's best, it's very difficult to undo. This doesn't mean you should distrust everyone. It means you should trust yourself enough to take your time, to ask for space, to say, I need to think about this, and mean it, to consult with people who have no stake in your decision, a trusted friend, a financial advisor who doesn't earn commission on what you choose, a counselor who can help you sort through what you actually want versus what you feel pressured to do. Protecting your autonomy means recognizing that not every suggestion requires an immediate response. And sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself is simply to wait. There's a wait that comes with regret in later years that doesn't exist the same way when you're younger. At 30, a mistake can be a learning experience. At 40, it can be a redirection. At 70, it can feel like a door closing permanently. This isn't about being dramatic. It's about acknowledging a simple reality. When there's less time ahead than behind, every major decision carries more emotional weight. And the regret that comes from rushing, from agreeing to something before you were ready, from letting someone else's urgency override your own instincts, is a particularly painful kind of regret to carry. Consider the man who sold his home because his children convinced him it was too much work. 6 months later, he's living in a smaller place that doesn't feel like his. He misses his neighbors. He misses his routines. He misses the life he had built over decades. And now, with home prices higher and his savings depleted from the move, going back isn't an option. The decision can't be undone. And so he carries the weight of it, not just the practical consequences, but the emotional toll of knowing he didn't give himself enough time to be sure. Or the woman who lent a large sum of money to a relative who promised to pay it back quickly. Months pass. The relative stops answering calls. The money is gone. And now, instead of financial security, she has resentment, strained family relationships, and a smaller nest egg than she can afford. The decision was made quickly, in a moment of generosity and pressure. But the consequences will last for years. Regret in later life isn't just about what you lost. It's about what you can no longer rebuild. It's about the time you don't have to recover from mistakes. It's about the independence that slips away when resources disappear. And it's about the quiet, persistent ache of wishing you had given yourself permission to wait, to think, to trust your instincts instead of someone else's urgency. This is why patience after 60 isn't caution. It's self-respect. It's honoring the life you've lived by protecting the life you still have ahead. So what does waiting actually look like? It's not about paralysis. It's not about avoiding decisions indefinitely. It's about creating space for clarity. It's about giving yourself permission to pause without guilt, to ask questions without apology, to say, "I'm not ready to decide yet," and mean it. Waiting can be as simple as setting a rule: no major financial decision in less than 2 weeks. No life-changing commitment without sleeping on it for at least 3 nights. No signing of contracts without having someone you trust review them first. It can also mean seeking counsel from people who have no agenda. A financial advisor who earns a flat fee, not a commission. A friend who has been through something similar and can offer perspective without pressure. A counselor who can help you separate what you actually want from what you feel obligated to do. These voices won't make the decision for you, but they can help you see angles you might have missed, questions you might not have thought to ask, risks you might not have considered. Writing things down can also bring clarity. A simple list of pros and cons. A letter to yourself about what you're afraid of and what you're hoping for. A journal entry exploring how you really feel, not how you think you're supposed to feel. These exercises aren't about overanalyzing. They're about slowing down long enough to hear your own voice underneath all the noise. And sometimes waiting reveals that the urgency was never real to begin with. The opportunity that seemed life-changing turns out to be unremarkable. The pressure from family fades when you hold firm. The decision that felt overwhelming becomes clearer when you give it time to breathe. This is the gift of patience. It separates what's truly important from what simply felt urgent in the moment. There's a quiet confidence that comes from knowing you didn't let anyone rush you. It's the confidence of looking back on a decision and feeling at peace with it, not because it was perfect, but because it was yours, because you took the time you needed, because you asked the questions that mattered, because you trusted yourself enough to wait until you were ready. That confidence doesn't come from speed. It comes from thoughtfulness. And after 60, thoughtfulness is one of the most valuable things you can offer yourself. Your dignity, your independence, your sense of control, these aren't abstract concepts. They're the foundation of how you experience every single day. And they're worth protecting, not with walls or fear, but with patience, with a quiet strength that says, "I don't need to decide today. I can wait. I can think. I can choose from a place of clarity instead of pressure." That's not a weakness. That's wisdom. And wisdom, after all these years, is what you've earned the right to trust most